Viewer subscription is advised.
Lights, camera, action!
What's going on, friends? Once again, I want to send a shout out to Hollywood Script Reader on Twitter. Recently, a couple of days ago, from me filming this, a couple of days ago, they posted a really thoughtful thread about something that doesn't get discussed enough. And it's how much wealth and privilege shape who actually gets to pursue a screenwriting career.
What's up, YouTube? Subscribe to my channel.
Their basic argument was simple. It's always been true that artists come from money because having financial security gives you something incredibly valuable, which is time. You have time to write, time to network, time to take meetings, time to fail without worrying about having to pay rent. And they also argue that the problem seems to be getting worse because of the economy. Between longer work hours, the rising cost of living, multiple jobs, and just overall hustle culture, it's becoming harder and harder for ordinary people, such as myself, to devote themselves to the pursuit of screenwriting. I'm annoyed. I was supposed to see my friend perform at the Viper Room tonight, but we didn't wrap up work early enough for me to go. It's a holiday weekend, and usually we try to wrap things up a little early so people can get the long weekend started, whatever. And my friend's show, the doors opened at the venue at 7, but I assumed that meant the actual show wouldn't start until about 8 o'clock. So I naively hoped that we would be able to wrap up work and I'd be able to get there by about 8, maybe 8:15. But yeah, no, 8:30, we're still working on fucking stories, So yeah, I looked on Instagram and people had already posted photos of her performance. So I was just well, I've missed it. So about to head to the bar. She might be at the bar. We'll see. But Faith, I wanted to come out to the show. I wanted to see you. Unfortunately, just couldn't.
Montana, you already know what it is when you hear that. Cruise, what up? Shorty want the boss cause she bossed up. Ran down ocean with the doors up.
Now, I don't know that I'd say that the industry is consciously making the decision to keep poor people out, but I do think that the system naturally favors those who already have resources. Breaking into this business takes an incredible amount of unpaid work. You gotta write scripts, you gotta rewrite them, you gotta research contests and submit to fellowships, you gotta look for grants, you gotta query managers and agents and producers, you gotta network, and if you're lucky, you gotta take meetings. And, if no one is giving you a shot, then you gotta make your own projects. And somehow you're supposed to do all this while still holding down a full-time job that actually pays the bills. And that's difficult. It's fucking difficult. And I've noticed, as I've gotten older, I've noticed that I simply don't have the energy that I had not even a few years ago. After a full workday, finding the mental bandwidth to write is one thing, but finding the energy to handle the business side of screenwriting is something else entirely. Writing is only half the job. The other half is trying to get people to notice what you've written. And as I've said, that shit is exhausting. Now, I consider myself incredibly fortunate. You know, I've said this before in previous videos. You know, I work remote. I have a job that I'm pretty good at. I don't have to spend hours like commuting to work. I don't have to deal with like the politics of working in office, you know, working in a traditional workplace. Like, I don't work manual labor, and I recognize that is very much a privilege. And all this gives me more time and more energy than a lot of, you know, aspiring writers have. But even then, like, pursuing screenwriting can still feel overwhelming. There's an there's an episode of Entourage that I always think about. You know, the character of Johnny Drama, he tells the rest of the gang, we could all be working for the phone company. And everyone kind of looks at him crazy. But I understood, you know, what he meant. And what he was saying was like, do you realize how fortunate we are to even be here? A steady paycheck, you know, it's not glamorous, but it provides stability. And stability is something that a lot of working artists, whether we're talking emerging screenwriters or actors, filmmakers, whatever, it's a privilege that a lot of them don't have.
It has been a night. It's been a night. It's been a long night. It's been an interesting night. Long night. Interesting and long night. But hey, here's what it is. Hollywood, baby.
Not gonna lie, while I'm putting this video together, it's just like that annoying cough. So, I'm gonna pop one of these. But yeah, there's another point that Jason made that I think it's interesting. Is that he said that a lot of working or established or repped writers don't actually live better than he does. And I chuckle because I honestly think that's the case for me as well. You know, people imagine you sell a screenplay and you're set for life. And like, I don't think that most professional screenwriters are living like that. I mean, yeah, you've got writers who are making like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you've got those who are making millions of dollars, you know, working as screenwriters. But again, the vast majority of working writers are not making bank like that. You know, meanwhile, I'm thinking about me, you know, in my survival gig. I make a decent salary. Can I be more responsible with my money? Yeah, sure. But as a single guy with no kids, no wife, no, you know, I'm doing okay. I'm pretty comfortable. And that sometimes makes me like ask a question that I think a lot of emerging writers ask themselves, which is this financially worth pursuing? Not because I don't love writing, I do, but because there's no guarantee that writing will ever replace the income of a stable career. And there's a reason why, you know, folks in Hollywood tell emerging writers the same thing. Don't quit your day job. Not until you absolutely have to. Like, don't quit because you just sold a script, or, you know, because you just got a manager, or even because you had a good year. You know, keep the steady paycheck until the writing genuinely becomes your full-time career. Because for most people, screenwriting isn't just an artistic challenge, it's a financial one. You don't believe me? I think this advice is still up on John August's website. Like, if you go to johnaugust.com, he has like all these articles related to screenwriting. And one of the ones that I keep bookmarked, that I go back to, is the one about money. And he even says this on his website. Don't quit your day job until you absolutely have to. And maybe that's the bigger conversation we should be having, right? It's not simply who gets into Hollywood, but who can actually afford to keep trying long enough to break through. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. This is just on my mind, and just wanted to chat about it real quick. So, you know, let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll holler at y'all in the next one. Peace.
Hollywood, baby.